Hi, my name is Lena and welcome to my channel. We are doing Reading My Country tag today. Let's start. The first question, what country are you going to talk about? I am going to talk about Russia and partly about Soviet Russia because this is a country I was born into. Question number 2, what is your favorite childhood book from your country? And this is The Daydreamers by Nosov. I don't think it was translated into English. It's a collection of short story, humor story. And my favorite story was Mishka's Porridge. This book was published in 1976, so you need to keep this in mind. It's a story about two boys that are left home alone. So they are the mother of one of the boys. She had to go somewhere. I don't remember where. But the thing is, they left home alone. She made them sandwiches. She opened a jar of jam and she bought bread. But they took all the sandwiches. They went to the river. They were sunbathing. They ate everything, and they're hungry. And they decided to make a porridge, to cook a porridge, because they saw like thousands of times how their mothers do that, and it's absolutely simple. So they started cooking porridge, but they don't know how to do it. And back then, I don't know, 40 years ago, first of all, there were no laws against leaving your children at home alone. Secondly, on the packages with the grains for making porridge, there were no instructions, so they took a lot of grains, they pour a lot of water. They see that water disappears, they pour more water. So they end up just scooping this porridge that tries to run away from the pot in other pots, in other plates. And it's not much of a story, but it's written with such humor that I could never read it aloud for my brother. I end up laughing and he would quickly become irritated with me. I couldn't read the story aloud, it was so funny. And in other stories I laughed very much and I have read a bunch of times are the stories by Volkov. I just showing you the cover. The thing is, his stories were very heavily influenced by the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You can see that, I think. This is an Iron Man, and this is a Scarecrow. I'm so well. You see the picture, right? There is no lion. I don't know why. So I'm not familiar with the tale itself, with the wonderful Wizard of Oz tale, but I'm familiar with these 6 stories. In these stories, children and grandchildren and maybe cousins of Ellie get to this wonderful country, and they function as a troubleshooters for this country, so they save this country each time. And in each story there is, of course, a talking small dog, and a lion, a scarecrow, and an Iron Man. So they were extremely interesting and fascinating and exciting, and I loved them very much. And another, my favorite childhood book is the Fairy Tales Reserve. I don't remember why and how it happened, but in this reserve, all the characters of fairy tales familiar to Russian children are breathing and living creatures, and they live in this fairy tale reserve. It's a wonderful story, full of very good humor, and I think a grown-up person can have uh, much fun with this book too. So the question number 3. What is a book from your country that you read in school? And I want to show you this book. This is Leo Tolstoy, Childhood, Boyhood, and Youth. 3 novelettes by him. I think it's autobiographical, and I loved it a lot. I loved it a lot. I still can remember bits and pieces of it. I mostly remember the characters of his grandpa and his grandma, especially his grandma, because I think I pictured my own grandma instead. I love the story. I think I should read it. And question number 4. What is a book set in your favorite area of your country? And this is Mikhail Shlokhov, Quietly Flows the Dawn. Or Quiet Flows the Dawn. This is a novel about civil war in Russia after the revolution, when Bolsheviks fights against the whites. So this is about children, about people living in a village on the banks of the river Don, probably a big village, and they are divided by this civil war. Someone took the side of Bolsheviks, someone against Bolsheviks, and they basically kill each other. And they can be brothers, they can be fathers and sons. So those books are set at that time. And I haven't read them, and I know I should. I'm probably waiting for Steve Donahue to get his favorite translation, the better translation. I probably will read them sooner. Why I chose them? Because my family comes from the village on the banks of River Don. That's why. The question number 5. What is a historical fiction book set in your country? And I chose a book by another Tolstoy, Alexei Tolstoy, and the book is Peter the Great, about Peter the Great, starting with the time when he wasn't a king, about his struggle with his sister Sophia, who wanted to be a queen, and about the way he became a king and afterwards, his rule afterwards. And the most favorite story in these books are about a poor family. They were peasants. They actually belonged to a Russian feudal. We call them помещик. So they basically were slaves. But by happy chance and circumstance, a son of the family is singled out by Peter the Great. So he is able to give his father money, and and afterwards some state orders. I don't know. So thanks to that, they are not only become a free family, and they are not only become very rich merchants. A daughter of this family, who is a peasant, but very beautiful girl. She actually marries a nobleman, and she lives abroad and gives the most exquisite balls or dances, entertainment evenings, much richer, much more exciting than the ones that royal families give. It's one of the stories in this book, and it was very interesting. Some parts of this book are extremely scary, especially considering all these simple people who died so that this St. Petersburg could be built, so that war could be won. It's a terrifying story as well. And question number 6. What is a book by an indigenous author from your country? And I choose a book about Cossacks because my grandparents were, I think their parents were Cossacks, more like that. And although nowadays we have people who wear the clothes and call themselves Cossacks, but I think those people are not indigenous Cossacks, something like that. And this is a book, non-fiction by Valery Nikitin. I don't think it was translated into English either. But this is the book about Cossacks, and I bought it many years ago for my father. I think he wasn't blown away by this book. Question number 7. What is a classic book from your country? And I decided to choose a book. I hope not familiar to you. And this is what I consider a classic sci-fi novel, a classic Soviet Russian sci-fi novel. It's by Ivan Yefremov, Andromeda, A Space Age Tale. It was translated into English. It was published in 1957, and I'm not sure when it was published and was it published in England or USA, but it was translated into English by George Hanna, and I have read it many years ago. I'm sorry. The main idea of this book that there are no place like Earth, that Earth is the most beautiful planet. So I think there was an expedition to some distant star, to a planet on some distant star, and I think on Earth they got feedback from this expedition. Very patchy, not the entire message, just bits and pieces, and they arranged it and sum it up as the world they discovered was beautiful, wonderful, the best ever. But afterwards there were no messages, so they lost contact with this expedition. And they organized the second expedition to find out what happened to the first. It's too late for the second expedition to become a rescue mission because the trip would take them extremely long. I don't remember how much time. Sorry. So to accommodate these people during such a long trip, they actually have a pool on board, and I think this this idea would have caused troubles for this for, I'm sorry guys, a scientist reader. I suppose her channel is called, well, a scientist reads her, and she talked about big bodies of water and propulsion movement, I think. So they actually have pools on their spaceship. Oh, sorry. I will leave all the links into info box down below. I don't remember much about this book. I just have read it, and I know the main idea is that there is no place better than Earth. Well, question number 8. What is a book from your country that you haven't read but would like to read? And this is Illusion Defense by Nabokov. I'd like to read this one. I've heard many wonderful things about the language, about the writing style in this book. And I haven't read it, but I talked about it to my friend, and my friend have read it and have loved it. I talked about it to my mom, and my mom have read it and have loved it. So I am the only one left who haven't read it, I think. And also I want to read this contemporary Russian novel, which is translated into English as The Grey House by Miriam Petrosyan. Okay. Question number 9. What are some of your favorite authors or books from your country? Guys, I don't have favorite authors. I'm strange that way. I don't know why. While I was picking up books to do this text, I looked at all the books I have access to, and I realized that I don't read by authors. I didn't read by authors several years ago. For example, if I read a book that I liked, I didn't have this urge to find everything the author ever published and to read it. So I'll show you some of my favorite books. And one is a collection of novelettes by brothers Strugatsky, Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. And my favorite novel is The Monday Begins on Saturday. And I have been so envious of Richardson Reeds and Ernest Aston when they did their body read of Difficult to Be a God by brothers Strugatsky. So I'd like to read this novel, Difficult to Be a God. So then it's a novelette by Sergei Dovlatov, which is called A Foreigner, I suppose. It's about a girl, a woman, an immigrant to USA. So a Russian woman living in USA and trying to blend in, trying to get used to this living. And it's written with a lot of humor. Some of them is dark humor. It's very funny. And basing on that, I bought the whole collection. I have 4 volumes of Sergei Dovlatov, but I haven't read them yet. I will one of these days. And finally, it's the closest thing I get to the favorite author. This is Andrei Belyanin. He is a fantasy author, and this is a series about, it's one of the series, it's called, I don't know, Shooting of Brides, something like that. It's, let's start with the main idea of the series. It's a police officer, and he somehow appear in the different dimension. He enters one house and he exits, and he is in another dimension where every fairy tale character is a living and breathing human being, and he serves to the Tsar Gorokh. We have a saying, if something happened very, very long time ago, we say it happened during the Tsar Goroch. So he serves the Tsar, and he employs Baba Yaga as a lab where he does analyze all of the clues. CSI it's called, or something like that, and it's an interesting story. In this particular book, Tsar Goroch wants to marry, and there are a lot of brides staying in the kingdom right now. He hasn't chosen a bride yet, but somebody not exactly kills them, but eliminates them one by one. One eats an apple, gets poisoned, falls asleep, some sort of coma. I don't remember what happens to another. It's a very funny, light story, full of humor. You probably noticed that I'm all about humor and a light, entertaining story. Well, let's tag some people. I want to tag Valentina Garcia and Silje, also from the Dusty bookshelf, and Richardson Reads. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and happy reading.